Hey, what's up, guys? Let's do a quick sound check here, make sure we are G to G. Hey, what's up, Wayne? Always good to see you. All right, thank you, Omer. All right, guys, not a bad showing from the Bulls today. After a little bit of a bloody Monday, we got Nvidia popping back up 7%, TSM up 4. Apple's been a beast. Apple up 4%. We'll take a look here at Meta. We took some profits in Meta earlier. Meta up 2.7, Microsoft up 2.6. Little more green today than yesterday. But yeah, let me kick it off here with Meta. And they want me to jump on the mic, hang out with y'all for a little bit today. Kind of give you my current view of the market as we head into remainder of Q1. With Meta being a good example of the major dynamic I'm seeing taking place right now. All right, so Meta's obviously having nice day here. All right, big breakout, big push. So we were buying Meta last week. I believe right on that candle, calling for a push higher out of the multi-squeeze setup. All right, multi-squeeze meaning you had a couple of time frames at once, all printing the squeeze. All right, so for Meta had a daily squeeze. All right, that fired long yesterday. There was also a 2-day squeeze here, and that one fired long. Let's see. That one fired long officially yesterday. Meta also had a 3-day squeeze. All right, and that, of course, is fired long. And then all the way to the top of the squeeze mountain, it also had a weekly squeeze, and that broke long. All right, so when you think squeeze, think buildup of energy. Good way to look at it might be like a coiled spring. And the thing about the squeeze is when the squeeze finally fires, you got phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1, we're building up all the energy. And we're going up a little bit, we're down a little bit. It's a lot of ugly back and forth chop. During the back and forth chop, the energy is being built up potentially for the big move down the road. All right, so phase 1 is the compression phase. And the thing about the compression phase, when that squeeze is gearing up for a big move, nobody really enjoys the price action. All right, now if you're long Meta for the last couple of days here, as all the squeezes fire, you love Meta. All right, breakout, big push, no drawdown. That is the good stuff. All right, but during phase 1 of the squeeze, again, a lot of glorified back and forth ugly chop. So these 2 purple lines on my chart, those are our Keltner channels. Right, and what they measure is 1 average true range move above our 21 EMA, and then 1 average true range move below our 21. And for the most part, when a squeeze is going through that first phase, they're chopping between -1 ATR and +1. And they might get a little bit above, maybe a little bit below. Point being, during that phase 1, it's just a lot of back and forth. Not enjoyable to trade, not too enjoyable to sit through. Then the day comes, right? They built up enough energy, they go on and release it. Right, we go from the compression phase to the expansion phase. Everybody loves that part. You buy a Meta back here, big breakout, big push, big profit. All right, so when you get that dynamic, 2, 3, 4 different squeezes setting up at once. Say you get that on a 30-minute, 15-minute, 5-minute. That can make for a decent little pop. That probably makes for a nice day trade opportunity. When you've got that compression phase taking place on your bigger time frames, a weekly chart, a 3-day, a 2-day, they don't tend to end with small moves. They usually end eventually with bigger than expected moves. Big breakout, explosive, all that good stuff. So with Meta being the poster child of the kind of move that can eventually kick off and you have that multi-squeeze, that multi-squeeze dynamic is pretty much the theme of the market right now. If we go to, say, the S&P 500, really going all the way back to mid-December, what are we getting here short term? A lot of ugly back and forth. Right? They flush it, they pop it, they flush it, they pop it. It's not the easiest thing to swing trade. while they're chopping the thing to death all the way in the background, now they're working a 3-day squeeze and a 2-day squeeze. So if we anchor to the 3-day squeeze, a couple of things you really want to keep in mind. Until the squeeze fires, expectation should be a lot of back and forth chop in that range. Again, nobody loves that part. The beauty of the squeeze when they fire, they tend to kick off a push that takes you anywhere from 2.5 to 3 ATR above that 21 EMA. So if they can break it long, they're going to usually take price about 2.5 to 3 average true range moves above that 21 EMA. So as it currently stands, if they were to fire the 3-day squeeze here for the S&P short, that could all kick off a flush down to about 55.80. So the green line is my upside target based on that 3 ATR extension, and the red line to be my short target. So +3 and then -3. If they break it short, it's going to be a really big move lower. If they can fire that squeeze to the upside, right, that could get priced all the way into 6,300-ish. Another 250, 300 SPX points. When that fires, they kick off that directional move, trading gets much, much easier. Right, if you are a swing trader, when they fire that squeeze, release all the energy, you're finally getting that wind at your back. Right, you can call for a breakout, you can call for continuation. You've got the wind at your back. Most things you do to the buy side are going to be a lot easier. Compared to in the chop here, right, you're not getting breakouts, you're not getting follow through. You maybe get direction for a couple of days, and then they turn the corner and reverse it. So you got the S&Ps in a big 3-day squeeze, right? And without calling for when and without calling for which direction exactly, if they break it long, 6,250, 6,300. If they break it short, 5,600, 5,580-ish. When the day comes that move finally kicks off, what I found is then you jump in, you get aggressive. That's when you have your best trading. Whether you're a swing trader, whether you're a day trader, whether you like to trade off of the daily time frame, 15-minute, when they can finally break out of the range, release the energy, the entire game gets so much easier. So the S&Ps have got a couple of squeezes setting up. If we flip over to the QQQ, Qs have had a lot of nasty back and forth as of late. Big flush, big reversal, big flush. QQQ is also caught in a 3-day, 2-day daily squeeze. The downside in the short term, until the squeeze fires, they might be ping-ponging the QQQ between 530 and all the way back down to 500. And that's all they've been doing. Right? Flush down the 5, pop it back up to 530, +1 ATR, -1, +1, -1. The goal should be during that build up the energy phase, we're not trying to get overly aggressive and lose our shirt. All right, I'm buying the QQQ. Oh boy, now we're flushing. Now I'm going to get short. Then they bounce it. So I'm covering my short. I'm getting long. Tough to trade that consolidation. When the QQQ 3-day squeeze fires, that could be a flush all the way down to 480, 470. Or it could be a rally all the way into 555, 560. You don't have to be too good to take advantage of that kind of move. Right? That much potential upside or that much potential downside. Get a little too aggressive inside the box, you might not be too quick to jump on when the move finally unfolds. But the point I'm trying to make is you look at the S&Ps, you look at the QQQ. I'm going to take the SMH, for example. SMH has a weekly 3-day and a 2-day squeeze. Take a name like an Amazon. Amazon has a 2-day squeeze. I happen to think a really, really solid 2-day squeeze. All right, but everywhere you look, indexes, big tech, big semiconductors, they've got that one theme. All right, we're kicking off Q1 and going into earnings, going into the Fed, weekly charts, 3-day charts, 2-day charts. They're going through phase 1 of that squeeze. So what I'm trying to call for all of us right now is the patience, sit through the chop, let things develop, try to get to a point where we can look at the QQQ, look at the S&Ps, and have a little more conviction. They want to fire one direction over the other. So first thing I'm trying to preach for is with patience. I think a lot of things in the market. Uh, no, I'm not calling for tomorrow, this week, or next week. Just overall here, Q1. A lot of things shaping up for what could be really big moves. Another great example here could be Microsoft. And got to get through earnings, figure all that out. But look at the Microsoft into Q1. 2-day squeeze, 3-day squeeze, and a weekly squeeze. Without any bias, bullish or bearish, without calling for exactly when the squeeze finally fires, that could be Microsoft into 480, 485. That could be Microsoft down to 380, 370. When that move begins to unfold, right, not tough to pull some nice cash out of it. If we're getting torn apart here in the chop, not ideal. So S&P's QQQ, Amazon, Microsoft, even the Bitcoin futures, which you've been doing what as of late? A lot of ugly back and forth chop. Well, in the context of a really bullish 3-day squeeze, we should kind of expect a lot of back and forth. In the context of our daily squeeze, it's all working here as advertised. And then you'll wake up one morning and they're kicking off a push into 115K or a move down into 85K. When the move comes, a lot of meat on the bones. Let me give you a couple of more here. One that we bought in my room today is Roku. Not a typical name I would trade, but here's a weekly, 3-day, 2-day daily squeeze. Now, just take that daily squeeze alone. And here's the power of that multi-squeeze. All by itself, that daily squeeze can get you into 88 to 90 bucks. So imagine later in the week, next week, Roku breaks out, daily squeeze fires, they release all the energy, and they're kicking off a push into 88 to 90 bucks. That alone is a pretty nice move. But as they push, as they take Roku higher, they're going to begin to fire the other squeezes, right? The bigger time frame squeezes. The daily squeeze can take you into 90. Well, from there, what if they fire the 2-day squeeze? And then they go on to fire the 3-day, then they go on to fire the weekly. You get that giant domino effect. All said and done, the weekly chart could take you into 97, maybe 100 bucks. That dynamic setting up across the board. Weekly, 3-day, 2-day, daily. If they begin to fire one after the other, in my 8-9 years of trading, it's these kinds of setups that make for the biggest and the best moves. Prime example as of late, the Apple weekly chart. Apple had a weekly squeeze. Apple had a daily squeeze, handful of them. Kicks off a push from 225 all the way into 260. You get a big name moving like that for a few weeks, you can jump in there with size, pull some nice profit out of it. Now, if you're in my room, my major focus is, for the most part, nothing but these 10 names. Right, I call them the Big 10. NVIDIA, TSM, Apple, Meta, Microsoft, Google, etc. So what I've done is I've taken those 10 names, put them into a weighted basket, call it a weighted index. And if I look at that basket on the weekly chart, we have the perfect weekly squeeze, right? A plus setup. We had a big 3 score of 15, bull trend, bull structure. The last time we had that combo, it was all the way back here in Q4. Kicks off the push, off goes Apple, off goes Netflix, off goes Amazon, Google, all the above. Basically set the stage for a big move throughout those 10 names. But that weekly squeeze back here wasn't acting alone. If we drop down to the 3-day time frame, look what you had on the Big 10 chart back in Q4 last year. Inside of your weekly squeeze, we had a beautiful 3-day squeeze. So anytime my chart has a white arrow down here, that's my favorite setup in the world. Squeeze and a perfect score of 15. So we're building up the energy, and then I'm taking my trend checklist, my structure checklist, momentum, and we're checking off every box. So they got that signal back here. Kicks off a decent push. They got it all throughout back here. Eventually kicks off a nice push. Q4, big push, and now here we go again. 3-day squeeze inside of the weekly squeeze, and then drop down to a 2-day. Right, squeeze on squeeze action. Inside of the weekly, inside of the 3-day, now we're getting a brand new 2-day squeeze. We had the same exact dynamic back in Q4. Perfect weekly, perfect 3-day, perfect 2-day. Back in Q4, you also had the perfect daily squeeze. And at the moment, they're working a brand new daily squeeze. And the thing about it is there's no guarantee they're going to fire that long. It can have quote unquote perfect structure and trend, all the pretty colors. It's a numbers game. And my thinking, my experience is when you get that white arrow across 2, 3, 4 bigger time frames, a good 70% of the time, it's going to make for a really nice move higher. So my thought process is until things change, I want to be positioned for that move. And that doesn't mean, they take the weekly chart here of the Big Ten and, break it out, fire the squeeze, pushing towards that upper target. It doesn't mean all these 10 names are breaking out, making a big move. Just means that a handful of them, kind of take your top 3, 4, stage is set for good action. Back in Q4, it was Apple. Big Ten chart lined up for a big move. Apple lined up for a big move. They had that multi-squeeze dynamic, and yeah, got the good stuff. So last time around, it was Apple. It was Amazon back in Q4. A really clean weekly squeeze, really nice move. So do I know for sure if these all fire and make that same move again? No real way of knowing for sure. But probabilities wise, till things change, that's what I think they're trying to shape up at the moment. In the spots that matter. SPY, QQQ, Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, Google. We got to get through the Fed. We have to get through earnings, all of the happenings. But if I were to give you 2 charts to, anchor to and keep on watching develop, keeping things nice and simple, S&Ps and QQQ. As always, they'll kind of set the stage for everything else out there. So my job is pretty simple. I've got to watch that 3-day squeeze develop, and I got to get to a point where I can come in here and call for 2 things. All right, the timing of the move and the direction. If I think they're going to 6,300, but I buy a call that expires in 3 days and we don't get there for another 30 days, well, yeah, all said and done, I got the direction right, but I'm a little bit off on my timing. So that is the art of trading this squeeze. When are they shaping up for a push, and which way are they looking to push it? As it all currently stands, I would be giving the Bulls the edge here. We got 11 points and a 15 on a scoreboard. Bull trend and bull structure. They got a little work to do here with momentum. But yeah, I'd watch the S&Ps. I'd watch a QQQ 3-day squeeze. And as they fire, when they fire, keep in mind, guys, this might be a 3, 4, 5, 6 week kind of thing. Could take a while. But yeah, anchor to them, watch them develop, and when they fire, thinking should be they're going to take most things with them. So right now, maybe you fancy yourself the 3-day squeeze here for Roku, and I also fancy myself the 3-day squeeze for Roku. Into February, into March, April. What's the best possible outcome for Roku? SPY, QQQ taking their 3-day squeeze, leading the way higher. Won't guarantee Roku breaks out, won't guarantee Microsoft breaks out, all the above, but it won't hurt it. If we're here 3-4 weeks down the road, S&P's QQQ took their squeezes, broke them short. Yeah, Roku could rally against it, but the odds I think would more so favor Roku goes much lower, with the market. So I've always had my best trades. I've always made the most money when two different things line up. On one end, I have squeezes on bigger time frames in my watch list names. Google, Tesla, Nvidia, all the above. But at the same time, I'm also getting those squeezes in the indexes. One without the other you can work with. When they both line up, it can make for some really good action. So be patient, let them develop. And if you're taking some stabs at a couple of these bigger time frames, my advice is lean into more time than needed. A good example is we're buying the SMH last week, off of the weekly chart with an April expiration 300 call. And then all the DeepSeek stuff comes out over the weekend. They hammer Nvidia, they hammer the SMH. It's just a weekly squeezing. All right, +1, -1, +1, -1, giving that bigger time frame more time till expiration. A lot better than waking up to a 12% gap down and your calls expire this Friday. So you're watching 15-minute, 5-minute, 30-minute squeezes. Then I think you lean into 0 day till expiration, the weekly expiration. When we have them on these bigger time frames, lean into more time than needed. If you think the Microsoft weekly squeeze can fire in 30 days, go buy some calls that expire in 60. If they break it out in 4 days, you're still going to get a good bang for your buck. But yeah, in a nutshell, my friends, I think we are going through phase 1 of the squeeze in all the important spots on all the bigger time frames. And phase 1, by definition, is just a lot of back and forth chop. Take a 40,000-foot view of the market. It's kind of been the MO as of late. And when they're doing that on a bigger time frame, it all feels a lot more emotional. If you're watching the QQQ chopping back and forth in a 5-minute squeeze, it's like a $1 range. Chopping back and forth in a 3-day squeeze, well, turns out that's more of a $25, $30 range. So be patient, let them develop. But yeah, in my experience, at the end of the squeeze tunnel is what I think is some of the best action you'll get. So any questions on all that, anything y'all want to look at, I am here to hang out. But in my own account, in my room here, that is the entire focus right now. Not trying to get too caught up in short-term trades. Not trying to short the market, scalp it, day trade it. Keeping my cash nice and tight. Looking for everything to do what Meta did. Thankfully, Meta's given us a live example today. No guarantee they will. And they might do it in the opposite direction, but in the QQQ, in the S&Ps, in the SMHs, Nvidias, all the above, I think there's this kind of potential off those bigger time frames. Chop the crap out of it. Tear everybody to shreds, or all the short-term traders, and then they kick off that good stuff. And look at the weekly chart for Meta. Meta's made a big move pretty quickly, but from a squeeze perspective, they've just gotten this party started. So shall not be a dull Q1. But if y'all would like to follow along with the chart of the Big Ten, let me grab the ticker for you. So I'll put the code here in the chats. What you want to do with that is just copy and paste it onto TOS. So Control C, Control V, and then dump that up here in the search box. Control V, dump it in, hit enter, and then let me go grab my Big 3 sheet. Folks on YouTube, let me drop that in the chat as well. All right, and go grab the rankings on the spreadsheet. And like I mentioned, if we have a good setup on that Big Ten chart, it doesn't mean I'm waking up and I'm buying, all 10 of them. And here they are. It's Meta, Amazon, Netflix, Microsoft, Google, Tesla, Apple, Broadcom, TSM, and NVIDIA. In a nutshell, for the most part, that's my market. The goal's never to have all 10 of them. But if the chart of that collective basket is setting up for a big move, then I'm coming onto my spreadsheet here, looking at my rankings. Who's top 2, 3, maybe 4? And I'll give you all a quick rundown of the spreadsheet here. You'll notice on my charts a label that says Big 3 score. That's my checklist for trend, structure, and momentum. Combine all of them, we got 15 different data points. So the weekly chart here having a score of 15, we're checking off every box. Structure can't get better, momentum, I'm loving everything about it. So what I'd like to do is to get a bigger picture feel of the market on the spreadsheet here. I take that score from 8 different time frames, right? Weekly, 3-day, all the way down to a 30-minute. And then over here in this column, we're getting a total score. If something has a perfect 15 on every time frame, then across your 8 time frames, your best possible total score is $1.20. So right now, looking at my Big Ten names, Meta, obviously, 120 out of 120. Amazon, 110 points. Netflix, 102. Microsoft, 60. And then we probably cut it off from there. Google's got 32 points out of 120. Not bad. I'm not going to short that. It's on a negative score, but it ain't that great. Tesla's a neutral 8. Apple a neutral 5. So that's a goal. In the right kind of environment, trying to get aggressive size into these kinds of names. When the pumps are primed, let me grab a quick link for that if you want to follow along on the spreadsheet. But yeah, let me get going through the chat here to see if you got any questions. And the biggest thing I would take away from our little session here is just just how long and how ugly that phase one of the squeeze can be. Can take a little longer than I think a lot of us would like. But man, when they fire, that is what trading dreams are made of. Grab a link here. In the path I'm trying to go down in my own career, if that Big Ten chart is quote unquote my market, then if my market's not setting up for a good move, I probably shouldn't be trading. It's like when we have that perfect weekly, daily, 2-day squeeze, I want to be here, I want to be active, I want to be aggressive, put my cash to work. And if I can get better at doing that, I'll have the luxury of not having to do too much else in the during the other periods of time. Things are pulling back, things are beginning to squeeze. But all right, my friends, what you got for me? Pete, how can we play Netflix? Netflix is in a tricky spot right now, I think. The short answer would be watch your 1 hour and your 30-minute squeeze. Now, Netflix is really bullish. No fighting that. 15 points out of 15, all of the pretty colors. I like the quality of the daily chart. Run it through my checklist. Yeah, really good. I don't love the entry. We're not really back here, at our buy zone near our 21 EMA. We're more so kind of floating up here in the earnings gap. But to answer your question, how can we trade it right here? I would keep all my focus on the 1 hour and the 30-minute squeeze. And right now, the indicator says you have a momentum problem. So you're getting 13 points out of 15. Really bullish, but could be a little better. Trend is really good. The structure of the chart is really good. Little problem lies down here on that momentum line on the on the big three squeeze. So in the context of a squeeze, right, with good trend and good structure, if they can pull that line back above zero, they're basically giving the bulls a fresh tank of gas right at the buy zone. Then they go for the move. So if I wanted to buy Netflix, that'd be my buy trigger. Get momentum back on board, then I'm jumping in, calling for the breakout. Take a little peek here at the 30, the dirty 30. No, Meta's a monster today. 30-minute. Right now, the indicator says you don't do anything with the 30-minute. Not enough edge to get long or short. Big three score of 0 out of 15. Neutral trend, neutral structure, bear momentum. Wouldn't buy it or short it off of the 30-minute just yet. But yeah, watch your hourly get through the Fed. If they can get a little momentum kick going, they might get some continuation. All right, NVIDIA 127, TSM back above 200, Roku 8170. Not a bad showing from the Bullskis. Yeah, Wayne. Out of all the semiconductors, TSM is probably the one I want to buy the most right now. And they gave it a pretty good thumping for sure. About a 10% haircut, but they plop it right back down into a beautiful weekly squeeze. At the buy zone, perfect 15. Yeah, I gotta like that. I gotta like it. You see the 3-day squeeze. Oh, Wayne, yeah, look at it. Look at her go, Wayne. White arrow on the weekly, white arrow on the 3-day. Which doesn't guarantee a damn thing. It just means that it has the characteristics of something that can explode into 240-ish. No, the healthy lens to look at it through is they keep on printing that white arrow. The odds really favor the idea of pushing to 240. And if every time I buy a weekly squeeze, we have that white arrow, every 25, 50, 100 trades I take, we'll be coming out on top. My goal for the room this year is just keep on proving that. Give y'all a quick look of our January trades here so far. It has not been a very exciting month. But so far for Jan, we have I can't count today. 5 trades closed, 4 wins, 1 loss. But yeah, over our last 55 trades, 38 winners, 17 losers, 70% win rate. And if you can really buckle in, have that squeeze first focus, wait for them all to line up properly, I think you can work that. I think shooting for that 70% ballpark is really realistic. In the right market, on the right signals. But yeah, TSM's got the goods. We had bought in it a couple of weeks ago. Took our cash and ran. Yeah, I like it a lot. We jumped in somewhere back here and then cashed out on the first pop in the 220. Yeah, I got to keep an eye on it. If NVIDIA can get back on its own 2 feet, I think the SMH might be all right here. The flush yesterday did feel a little bit overdone. Not that I'm really in the loop that much. My whole focus for NVIDIA, which will have a big material impact on the SMH, is just this weekly squeeze. All right, I don't know when. I don't know exactly which way. But when they fire it, if it's a well-behaved squeeze, $1.70 or $100. Could end up right around that neighborhood. Yeah, respectable 70%. All right, I'm gonna keep coming through here. I looked at Netflix. Star Jeff is looking at Oracle, and yeah, we'll take a look over at Tesla. Michelle, unfortunately, I don't think that the code for the Big Ten chart works on TradingView. I'm gonna have to ask Eric if we can come up with some kind of solution. But to my knowledge, it's only a toss thing. All right, Oracle. What is shaping up in the Oracle? I wouldn't do too much of Oracle right now. Both long and short. Reason being, if I run it through my trend checklist, my structure checklist, and my momentum checklist, bulls get a few points, bears get a few points. Total score is just a 0. Meaning not weak enough or strong enough to give one side even 1 point of edge. Like nobody can get the lead right now. They break the 200, the 200 SMA. I gotta think at that point, bears get the edge. And if they can get it and keep it back above the 50 SMA, I think that would all favor the bulls. You do have a brand new weekly squeeze, but that one also doesn't offer too much clarity here for the short term. Sometimes neutral is clarity. Like, hey, it ain't bullish, it ain't bearish. There's just nothing going on here. This is the opposite of clarity. All right, I've got trend neutral. So neutral, think sideways. I've got structure bullish, so obviously higher, and I've got momentum pointing lower. Best trades happen when we can do this. Right? Trend pointing higher, structure pointing higher, and momentum. Or trend pointing to a move lower, structure pointing lower, and momentum. The toughest trades, I think, are these. A lot of mix match here. Give it a couple of weeks, it all might begin to shift. Trend goes back to bullish, momentum turns back above 0. Then they're primed for a nice push. So a little patience on the Broadcom. And then Tesla. So Tesla's got earnings tomorrow. And I imagine anybody trying to swing trade Tesla the last couple of weeks here hasn't been a very enjoyable name. And what has Tesla been doing? Flush down to -1, rally up to +1, flush down to -1, rally up to +1, flush down to -1. You're caught in a daily squeeze. Bulls aren't strong enough, bears aren't weak enough to break it out just yet. Till you get to that point, you have to expect more of this action. It's energy being built up for a bigger move down the road. Break it short could be a flush into 345. Break it long could be a move into 370. So now the question becomes, after earnings tomorrow, if we do wake up to a gap, is it a gap in the favor of the bears? Right. Maybe getting one step closer to breaking the squeeze short, or is it a gap into 425, 440, 450? Little more in favor of the bulls to take it long. But we don't have any buy signal. We don't have any sell signal. We don't have a 15 out of 15. We have a neutral daily squeeze. This is textbook neutral daily squeeze action. This was a 5-minute time frame. That would be textbook 5-minute squeeze action. -1, +1, -1, +1. And then momentum gets better. Structure gets better. You're getting some buy signals. You're getting some stacked EMAs. One side's getting a little edge. Then they can work on the bigger directional move. It's so easy to get aggressive in that box. All right, I'm flushing it, or I'm shorting it, and I'm buying it. And you're shucking, you're jiving, all that back and forth. You want to keep the cash for the easier move, which is usually when the squeeze finally breaks. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Meta coming up, Microsoft coming up, Tesla coming up. Now, if they could all pull a Netflix, I'm just going to throw this out there. If they could all pull a Netflix, would not be all that bad. I don't think. Big old gap up. Oh, it does look like it works on TradingView. Well, AJ, you learn something every day. To be honest, I've never actually tried. I probably shouldn't have spoken with so much conviction. Okay, that is good to know moving forward. Thanks, AJ. All right, let me jump in here and get caught up with the good folks over on YouTube. Hey, Brian, what's up, my friend? Always good to see you. You bought some of the 417 250 calls in TSM. April 17th, giving that a little, a couple of weeks here. Oh, I'm sorry, 417. I'm waking up today thinking it's Wednesday. I'm all over the place. Okay, you're out in April. Yeah, then I really like that trade all the way out in April. Yeah, definitely. And we don't know if the weekly squeeze will fire long. But if it does, safe bet they're pushing into 240, 245. If we're buying calls that expire this Friday, I think we're cutting it way too close. If they can't get the job done before April, they might not be getting the job done at all. So yeah, I really like that trade. Then tomorrow TSM pulls back into 195 again. You don't got to be in a total panic. All right, SMH. They were talking all kinds of smack about you earlier. They said you were done for, you and NVIDIA. They were saying awful things about you, NVIDIA. But yeah, Brian, I like that trade a lot there. Edmundo, hello. Appreciate that. What would be the TP value for Meta now? Good question. Meta's depending on the time frame of focus. Meta's kind of already made the move. The easy part of that daily squeeze, the push from that 21 EMA into that green line. Excuse me. Now, Meta might go from here into $800 per share, but probabilities-wise, that's usually the most explosive, easiest part of the push. If we're going to anchor to the weekly chart, and again, here's the power of that multi-squeeze setup. If we just had a daily squeeze, Meta might be done already. You look up at that weekly squeeze, well, that bad boy's calling for another $20 or so. Right? We have that all over the place right now. The daily squeeze can get you to point A. Then they wake up the weekly. The weekly can get you to point B. Right? Further, higher down the road. So it'd have to move at this point into 700. But anything can happen after earnings. Yeah, I mean, Meta could gap up $60 Thursday morning. Could gap down 40, gap down 80, all the above. The key, in my opinion, would be if I'm buying Meta up here, after the breakout, after the push, if I'm not playing with profits, then I got to make sure that a pullback into 660, 650, 640 can't hurt me. Right? If Meta gaps down on Thursday, and it's not a devastating gap down, they might pull it right back into a really bullish weekly squeeze. So that'd be my only thought. Um, for example, the folks in my room, we bought it back here, caught the push, took our profit. If we want, we can jump in here tomorrow, buy some calls for earnings, and guarantee that no matter the outcome, we'll have a net profit all said and done. Make $1,000, take the profit. We can go buy a 750 call, buy $200 worth. That call goes to zero between the two trades. Net profit of $800. And even if earnings were not tomorrow, I think a good mindset after that push into daily 3 ATR. Right? I might keep calling for more. I might keep on playing it, but I'm not going to play it in a fashion where a pullback to the buy zone, takes me out of business. All good questions here, guys. Appreciate it. Keep on going through. And yeah, Brian, seeing your question now, we took off Meta at the open. And we didn't catch the high. Definitely didn't catch the high. Yeah, we're selling at about $8 or $10 lower. But into earnings into the Fed, that's a nice move in a couple of days there. It might take a daily squeeze, a couple of weeks to make that push. If they can hand it out to you in a couple of days, one way, shape, or form, you want to make sure you're getting paid on that. Securing the paycheck, as they say. All right, let me see what else y'all got. Danny, what's up, Danny? What do I think of IAG? I like it at first glance. 15 out of 15 on the daily chart. Oh, yeah, I gotta love it. Absolutely. Really good daily chart. 4-hour buy signal. Let me grab my Camtasia here. What happened to my Camtasia? There you go. All right. Weekly buy signal, daily buy signal, 4-hour, 2-hour, 1-hour, 30-minute, 5-minute. White arrow on the 2-day squeeze. So a squeeze and a perfect score. 3-day squeeze gets a score of, drum roll please, 13 out of 15, so very close to being perfect. And then the king of the hill on the weekly, squeeze and a perfect score. Good example of a lot of what we're seeing right now. Bigger time frames in squeezes, all lining up for a push. Earnings here. Looks like earnings aren't until Feb 20th. That actually gives you some decent time to play it. No, yeah, I think that looks really, really solid. Just be mindful of all the happenings happening this week. JP comes out tomorrow. He says all the right words. He wears his green bow tie. S&P's breaking out. QQQ breaking out. I think something that looks like this should do pretty well. It's really clean. I like it a lot. And yeah, Francisco, let me grab a link for you for the indicators real quick. We can do that. While we're hanging out here, guys, give me some Super Bowl predictions. If you're a football fan, what are you thinking? KC for the three-peat or them Eagles? All right. I am looking for simplertrading.com. So don't forget, I'm a New England guy. So when they talk about new dynasties in the NFL, us New Englanders take it a little personally. Although I'm a Broncos fan, so it's a different story. I'm hoping for a good game. That's all I'm hoping for. Would prefer the Eagles win, but I want a good football game. All right, what am I looking for here? Bear with me here, guys. Tools, indicators. Microsoft really strong. SMH above 240. It'll be an interesting power hour here. All right, there we go. My goodness. All right, there's the big goat himself, the OG of the squeeze. All right, here we go. I'm not sure who that sketchy looking guy is, but yeah, here's a link. Any questions? Hit me up on Twitter. Catch me on the YouTube channel. But yeah, here to help and here to chat. Pop that down there for you. There you go. Brian going for KC. Tough team to beat. Tough team to beat. Although Saquon Barkley, he's a weapon. All right, guys, few more here. AJ, anything in FCX? Do I see a reversal in FCX? An FCX reversal. It's tough to call for it here for a couple of different reasons. On the weekly chart, we're nowhere near oversold. If they get down towards that -3 ATR level, again, maybe you have a squeeze here, but the flush from your 21 EMA towards that -3, easier, higher probability part of that move. So from that point of view, room to go lower on the weekly chart. In putting in a bottom, kicking off a big reversal, that all begins from the ground up. It won't be anything they do on a weekly time frame. It won't be a daily chart thing. It's really a 1 minute, then a 5 minute, then your 15, then your 30. Here's a good example: Nvidia. Right, when they're creaming Nvidia yesterday, down 18%, they're doing damage everywhere. They're not going to get a better looking daily chart until they fix the issues on those lower time frames. So what kicked off the decent reversal here? Oh, nothing to do with our daily, nothing to do with our bigger time frame. Look at the cycle the 5 minute chart went through. And right now on FCX, from the ground up, you're kind of at that moment in time. Broken structure, bad momentum, bear trend, sell signals, everything pointing towards path of least resistance being lower. And then the candles go from red to blue. We're not bullish, but maybe the bears have hit a point of exhaustion. Bears are maybe no longer operating, firing on all cylinders. So we go from red bearish to blue a little bit more neutral. And that little transition alone has helped NVIDIA bounce a good, $10 off the bottom. Now to go higher, we need what? We got to get some 5 minute buy signals, right? We got to get that full round trip. 5 minute chart goes from bearish to neutral back to bullish. Then your 15 minute goes from bearish, neutral back to bullish. Right? Now they're building on their progress. Then they graduate to the 30 minute. Then they graduate to the hourly. Then the day can come where you wake up one morning, NVIDIA is back above the daily 21 with good looking 1 hour, 30 minute, 15 minute time frames. Now they got it back to a point you maybe want to come in and buy it. So if that makes sense, jumping back to Freeport, way too many sell signals for now. Weekly, daily, 4-hour, 2-hour, 1-hour, 30-minute, 15-minute, all pointing towards a path of least resistance still being to the downside. So if you anchor to, say the 15-minute, and granted, you might not have the indicator, but this would be my thought process. The first little sign of life here, right? Maybe the bleeding is coming to an end. They take the 15-minute from red back to blue, right? Bearish back to neutral. That's just a little heads up that maybe the selling pressure is over. They go from red to blue and they gap it down again, right? They go from red to blue and they flush it again. We never got back to green, right? Green means buy signal. Haven't gotten that 15-minute chart back to a point where the trend, structure, momentum supports a continued push higher. Before that weekly chart reverses, that daily chart reverses, they got to do that work down here from the ground up. So at a minimum, I would like a 5-minute and a 15-minute buy signal. Then at that point, what can I do? In the context of an overall really bearish name, I found a couple of spots the bulls have finally got some edge. All right, so I can anchor to their edge. If they keep it, they keep on building upon it, I can remain long Freeport. They drop the ball, they lose their 15-minute buy signal, lose their 5-minute. I probably got to let it go. Makes sense, though? If NVIDIA goes back to 140 from here, then we're going to see that process from a 5-minute all the way back up to a 4-hour. Right now, the hourly's gone from bearish back to blue. Just means the bears have taken a chill pill. It's not a bullish hourly chart. If they can't get any better than that, they might roll over again. Keep on building on their progress, get a 1-hour buy signal. All right, now we unlock the opportunity to go a little bit higher. Keep on doing that up to the 2-hour, up to the 4-hour. Keep on building. So that was a long-winded answer, but I hope it makes sense. All right, we got some KC fans in here. Mr. Sniffles. Hello, Mr. Sniffles. I like that name. Yeah, so we pushed out the update, I want to say maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. So if you log into the website, go to the indicator page on your Simpler Trading dashboard. You should see towards the top of the indicator page the download for the brand new squeeze labels. And if I can help it out, let me know. Brian, great work catching crowd. I've got to live through you with crowd for now. Oh God, they keep it going. Jeez. I had my finger on the trigger a couple of days ago for a 400 call. I'm not going to go look at what they're trading for. But here's a good example of kind of the heart of our conversation today. Crowds been setting up in a 3-day squeeze, setting up in a 2-day squeeze, and it was setting up in a daily squeeze. Now, all they've done today is what? They've only fired the daily squeeze. So only one time frame is going into the release of energy. Yeah, maybe you're due for a dip, right? Maybe a little pullback, little chop, but bigger picture, haven't fired that 2-day, haven't fired that 3-day squeeze. So think of that dynamic. The stock is up about 10% today. And we can look at it bigger picture and think, hey, there might be room down the road for another 10, 15 bucks here. Doesn't mean I buy a bunch up here, but bigger picture, right, room for more. That is a more further along version of the S&P's QQQ, Amazon, Microsoft, Bitcoin futures, NVIDIA, all the above. Do they all go on to make a crowd-like kind of move? The fun part is figuring that out. But yeah, what a beauty. Ugh. I gotta go look. I'll just go look. Why not? Next Friday's 400 calls. How much have they gone up today? Yeah, what a pump, man. This will be a little painful. Oh man, wow. So the 400 call for next week closes yesterday at $3.34 per contract. And as you look at it, it goes for $19.50 per contract. Not a shabby paycheck, is what you call that one. A beautiful move. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Okay, so Francisco, momentum is just a part of the puzzle. So we can't get a buy signal unless we have momentum, unless that momentum line is above zero. But then we got to factor in the trend and the structure. All right, so think of trend like the wind at your back. Think of structure like your foundation. Your foundation, your backbone, and then momentum is a gas in the tank. If you have good-looking trend, good-looking structure, but no momentum, that's like a BMW in the driveway. Good-looking car. I can sit here and look at it, but if I don't have any gas in the tank, I'm probably not going too far with it. If you have bull momentum but really bad trend, really bad structure, okay, we got some gas in the car, but we're missing a tire and a couple of doors. Car's not in the best shape. Maybe don't want to jump in, go for a 500-mile road trip. But if the car is in good shape, you got brand new tires, oil change, all the fluids, and a full tank of gas, we should be able to jump in, kick off a decent road trip, free of trouble. Killer move there. So when I'm looking at structure, that is, do I have stacked EMAs? Is my 21 EMA above the 50? Am I 50 above the 200? When we're thinking trend, we're thinking the direction of the moving averages. Is my 200 SMA trending higher, lower, or nowhere? My 50, my 21, all the other moving averages. So the combination of all the above, that makes for a buy signal. Crowd having buy signals on the weekly, daily, 4-hour, 2-hour, 1-hour, 30-minute, and the 15-minute tells you every one of those time frames has a good combination of what I call the big three: trend, structure, and the Momo. But all right, guys, I've got to hit the road here, do a couple things with the wife, run a couple of errands. So yeah, thanks for hanging out for an hour. All kinds of good questions, conversations. Now take what you're seeing from both crowd and meta today. 3-day, 2-day daily squeeze setups. Finally kicking off the enjoyable part of the squeeze. Nobody likes crowd back here. Why would you? Chopping, flushing, chopping, flushing. No buy signal, no sell signal, no edge. You can take a million different trades in here. The thing's going nowhere. And then we're getting the white arrow. Hey, we might be on to something. So take your QQQ 3-day squeeze, S&Ps, everything we covered. From the point of view of my indicator, if they can get them to the point, they've all got that white arrow. No guarantees on promises, but probabilities-wise, everything should be lining up for a nice move higher. The fun part between now and Friday is getting through the Fed, getting through earnings, which could either kick off that move higher or totally crush the market. And yeah, may rain on the parade. We'll find out. But thanks again, guys and gals. Much, much appreciated. Any questions, feel free to find me here over at Simpler. Reach out to me on the YouTube channel. Let me grab my Twitter link as one more shameless plug. But if you like these kinds of setups, definitely give me a follow here on Twitter, or X, I should say. Always trying to post the best squeezes, all the above. So So let me grab that, and I shall let you all go. I got to get some lunch in me here at some point. Woke up at 3 o'clock and I haven't eaten yet. All right, here is the Twitter link. All right, computer, don't freeze on me now here. Computer's freezing up right at the finish line. But Twitter handle is Taylor_Horton24. Not a very fancy Twitter handle. So look up Simpler Trading on Twitter, and you'll find me somewhere from there. But all right, y'all, thank you again. Much appreciated. Have a good rest of your Tuesday. Have a good rest of your week, and I'm sure we'll be talking here sometime together soon. Adios.